Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our July 7th council meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Roll call.
Mr. Oja?
Here.
Mr. Menegini?
Here.
Dr. Hayes?
Here.
Mr. Gottstein?
Here.
Mr. Ball?
Here.
Approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of June 16th. Any additions or corrections?
I make a motion we approve the minutes for the regular meeting of June 16, 2014. Support.
Motion made by Dr. Hayes, supported by Lee. Roll call.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Yep.
Mr. Oja?
Yes. Approval manifest 2014-13 in the amount of $689,630.41. George.
I got a huge amount of them here.
Okay.
Right off the top, this refund for paid for parking permit, $1,500. What might that be about?
Under the zoning, if a business doesn't have enough parking on their own property, there's an option of payment in lieu of parking, and it's $500 per space used. In looking at Dr. Van Hola's property, for his doctor's office, it was determined he needed 3 spaces. We had made a mistake in the determination, though, because it was a change of use, that you needed to look at how many spaces the old use had compared to the new, and the actual number actually went down. So he should not have been charged for the parking spaces because it was a change of use. So this was a refund of the money he had paid for payment in lieu of parking.
Okay. Fine, very good. Thank you, Jeremy. And down this pool renewal insurance, I see that's on a huge amount of all of the all departments are charged out. What might that be for, Jeremy?
That's our workman's comp and our insurance payments for, they give us one main bill and then we split it up in between all the different departments.
That's for all year, right?
That's right.
Or all
Yeah,
year?
all year.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, the total bill is like around $130,000.
Yeah, I see it on the back end here, and okay.
And then we do, I think it was last month, we actually had a refund, a dividend they call it. Each year, right around the time we pass our budget, just before, like around June 1st, we've seen a dividend over I don't know how many consecutive years, so.
And then this city contribution here in the first 2 items, is that once a year, or how was that calculated here, Ray, on that $673?
That's on a paycheck basis.
Pardon?
That's on a paycheck basis. It's so much there's a total so much per year,
Oh,
and then it's just split up.
okay,
on
so
a
that's
salary
taken
payroll.
out every month then?
Yeah.
Is that, okay. On the next page, right up on the top there, for ZNR Electric, didn't we pay this bill here, Joe, for rewinding that motor about 2 months ago? $3,700? I thought that bill, as soon as it was rewound, that it was paid that following month.
I know we did pay that, George. That was gonna be one of my questions, but there were 2 motors failed.
There's 2 motors that got rebuilt. Now, I'll have to pull the invoice because I remember signing off on that invoice several meetings ago, but I don't know why it would show up on here again. So let me check in on that. I didn't see it when I did bills this time. I didn't see that
Okay.
in my folder, but I can definitely check on that, George, and get back to you why it's in there again.
Okay. And Public Works, down about three quarters, $228 for 6 pairs. I wish they would kind of break this up a little bit more, Joe. They got 6 pair of gloves and evidently some bolts, I would assume. But you don't know which is what here, which is gloves and which is bolts, or
6 pair of gloves, HXD, 1/4 inch by 5/8 bolts.
you know.
David signed off on that particular invoice, so I can't address what type of gloves they were.
Well, yeah, I realize they could just break it up so,
Well, there's-
you know, which is what, and
Okay.
it would help a little
I
bit
can
more.
talk to Lisa about that, but there's only so many words she can put in here. She can't put a
Yeah.
whole description, you know?
Oh, I
So she's
realize
trying to figure out how to put it in the best she can.
Okay. And page 5, that's $771 for tower rental. I would assume that it would be your police, fire, and ambulance, but it doesn't. Just says fire, North Alert,
That's the
and
ambulance.
rental fee. The last one is the fee. Is that,
That would be our service on there, Ray? For our
Yeah, that's
radios?
for our radios.
Yeah, so that's our radios, the fire, and the North Alert.
okey-doke. And I wish Mary was here. Down on the next department, service fund, how many years left do we have to pay on that, on the city hall bond? Anybody got any ideas?
The City Hall, 2016, I think, because it was a 15-year, I believe it was a 15-year, and we had that bond in 2001. So,
2000 what, Ray?
I believe it's 2016.
Okay,
It's either a 15 or a 20, so
I-
it'd be
just
16 or 21.
curiosity,
I can, I'll look that up for you though, George.
just curiosity. Joe, on electric fund, way down on the bottom, Krause
Yes.
Power Engineering,
Yes,
that $2,600, I guess what I am curious about, when we pay him a set amount per year for engineering and stuff, does this cover any of that or no?
this particular one that you're looking at right here is engineering that is done for this hydro system coordination project that we've been working on for about 6 years. It's finally coming to volition, all the equipment's in. So that money's right there was to review and check the design and all of the input functions to the reclosures to make sure they're proper to coordinate with the hydro dam. But to answer your second part of that question was, we have an agreement with David Krause for $7,000 a year, and we don't pay him that unless he uses it. You know, if I call him up and say, Dave, I need help engineering something special, then he'll send me a bill for it. But it's a miscellaneous service contract. In fact, I have a new one for this next year on my desk to bring to you at next council meeting.
Okay, I was just wondering what, you know, where the fee,
Yeah, this one is project specific, but other ones are not that specific, and it's just general stuff that I need help with occasionally.
and, Ray, just up above that, that $300 for electric bond administration fee, what, could you probably fill us in a little bit on that one?
Joe, is that gonna be for our credits?
You know, we'd have to get that answer from Mary.
Okay.
Electric bond administration fee.
The one that George had questioned for the city hall bond was also the administration fee.
Okay.
So
It must,
Maybe they transferred that through.
Yeah.
That would be through the bond fee. But it is 2021, I looked it up. For the City Hall,
Oh,
it's 2021.
oh, thank you, Ray. Okay, it was just, that was something you know, why are they charging administration fees for what?
I think that's probably, and Mary will probably be able to better answer that, but I think that's like your monthly fee on your bank account. We just get it listed as an administration. I believe.
You have fees on your bond payments.
Okay, and then on the following page, that bucket liner, Joe, is that for a truck that
The
we already
orange,
got that was damaged or something?
yeah, the small orange bucket truck. Don't ask me how, because I don't have any idea how. But it's been like that for many years, and it just was brought to my attention during the last truck testing, that there was a hole in the bucket and the liner. So I had to replace the bucket and the liner, because you cannot have a hole in the bucket and the liner to do hotline work.
That doesn't say much for your inspection from your people.
No, it doesn't say much from the other inspections, but it got caught this time around, and
I
so I
mean,
had,
even the guys that are using it should know better than
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Okay, on page 11, about 6 lines down at $4,400 for that water main break from Dickinson County Road Commission. I'm sure that we addressed them on how many people that we'd like down from now on
Yes,
do
you
these
are.
projects.
When I received that invoice from them, I immediately called, and we had a meeting. And I said, from now on, when things happen like this, I want complete control of the personnel and how many trucks. You just don't send everybody and then expect us to pay for it all. It got a little out of control out there with the amount of people. I know that. David made the call to them to ask for help because it was on the US 2 interchange there. And we did need a lot of more, we didn't have enough cones and signs and everything we needed to shut down the highway.
Speaking of that, Joe, do we have a time delay or timeline when that has to be fixed over there on that?
The immediate goal, George, was to have it repaired by the end of August. I went out for bids on the repair because of the amount of work and traffic control that it needed to be. We only received one bid, and it is extraordinarily high. And I don't.
What do we have to do with it yet, Joe?
Well, we have to, it's not fixed acceptable to MDOT standards. We just patched it
Okay.
quickly, okay? It has cold mix in it, they want hot mix.
Yeah.
So what they want us to do is go in and saw cut a nice straight line. They want us to dig out the cold mix that's in there. Then we have to go down 4 feet, dig out the gravel, recompact everything. And then we have to put hot mix patch over the top of that. That's right by Saginaw. Then we move to the 8 corridor and US 2. There we have to replace the concrete. The 8 inches of concrete we tore out underneath the blacktop has to get replaced. That all has to be saw cut square, it has to be drilled and rebar stuck in it to make it all join up and hold, and so it's quite a project. And that intersection, it's gonna take traffic to get diverted, because you can't do shut down the whole intersection. We're talking about doing half at a time, and trying to do it that way. So it's quite a process to get that repaired.
Okay, that's all I have, Jeremy.
Okay, Chris?
George got most of mine, but I had one question. Back under the main trunk line, with an energy, state of Michigan traffic signal energy for $193. First one I've ever seen that before.
That is an annual expense. I mean, that's a regular expense.
What exactly is that what it is? It's energy for the traffic light?
Correct. They charge us for
So we bill them, because
Yeah.
I'm assuming
it's their light, so, yeah.
that's all I had.
Dr. Hayes?
I was just wondering, this is not a significant item, but street lighting, Larson street lighting for 1317, what's that?
That's a street light, is it not? Is it a We
Yes,
Energy street light?
that is a street light that is on the corner of Botchick Lane. And it is on the We Energy system because they serve that area. And so we pay to have that street light there to We Energies.
Which is precisely what I thought, and that's why I brought it up. I'm wondering where we're going with that, if we're making any headway or...
The discussions that we had earlier were, we have to actually build power lines. That Ray actually found this out from the Michigan Municipal Electric Association. We can't just go in and assume we're gonna take over a certain area that We Energy serves that's in the city limits of Norway without causing some problems. So we have to work with those guys and try to figure out if they'll sell us facilities where both sides of the power line are feeding people within the city limits, but if the power line, like for example on Upper Pine Creek, feeds someone outside the city limits and also feeds someone in the city limits, they don't have to give that up to us. So we would have to build our own power line in there to take those customers over.
Yeah, I'm aware of all that. I was just
Okay.
wondering if we've made any progress, if we've talked to...
No, we have not made any progress in that area.
Are we going to, or?
Yeah, it's a lengthy process. I guess we'll talk to the Michigan Municipal Electric Association.
I have been. I mean,
You
you're right, it's a lengthy process, and it's a legal process as much as anything. I mean, we can go in and build, but do you want to spend the infrastructure right now in building new lines for those customers? I guess that's a question that we throw back to you. If it's a situation of assuming we're buying out their infrastructure, you have the issue, or we have the issue of residents or customers that are outside of our city limits, and by the statute, we cannot assume those customers. So it's a legislative legal issue, and it takes a while. I know you don't want to hear that, but I mean, I can't force the issue. I've been asking and talking, and, now they're in a committee on reevaluating the whole Public Act. So things are actually they've actually slowed down over the last 6 months rather than try to speed up, so.
I have no other questions.
Lee?
George hit on most of them for me. Just, I'd like to make a comment on all the insurances, the MMCL, the Michigan Municipal Workman's Comp, and health insurance. All this comes to a grand total of over $200,000. Just letting you know where the money's going. And one big question here on page 5, debt service fund, capital accounts. E2P2 project, final loan payment, 72. What's that final loan payment on?
Well, that project is now complete, and so that's wrapping up. We had multiple different areas that we worked with them.
What's the big project?
Well, we had it broken
Multiple
down into multiple projects. I mean, that should show up within a number of areas within your account. Which one are you specifically referring to?
Well, just the grand total.
On page 5, the debt service.
Oh, okay, then what she did was we had
Could you have her break it down for me at the next meeting? That's all.
Sure, we've
Yeah,
got it broken-
I
we've
can
got
name a
it
few of
broken
them
down.
right now. That we did energy efficiency lighting in all the buildings for City Hall. We put motion sensors in on the lighting, so when nobody's in the shop, the lights turn off. We did the argon mine pumps and the automated controls at the argon mine. That was a big part. The pump for the golf course had some work done on it.
Fire hall.
There were exit lights, high efficiency exit lights that that we put in and all over. There was fire hall, high energy efficiency projects in there with the furnace, and also with the lighting that was done in there. And that's what compromised the whole problem, or the whole, not problem, the whole project. And now we're finally paying that off.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
there was also on the doors in the DPW, we did
Yeah, there were
work on the
some doors
large
in there.
doors.
Yeah.
I mean, it was spread out
Okay,
through all.
well, I was
different
thinking it was one
departments.
big project, that's.
Well, they collected in the debt
Collected
service
in
fund
that.
and it's spread out amongst the different.
One other
funds.
question then. First page, PM surveying. Survey research mine pit, Norway mine, $2,100.
Yeah, that's the boundary lines with the mine inspector. What we
Oh,
have to
that's,
do. That's the pits that we have
okay.
to, we had to find mainly the northern boundary because we didn't have the fencing up in that area.
Are they
We
all
have to-
staked now then, or?
They're staked,
They-
yeah.
Okay,
And
and,
then over on, I believe over on the east end, we did some work too.
okay, and then Summit Road, it also says, $600 Summit Road, and it says CTY 577, to me, that's County
Road
577. What's that got to do with the city of Norway?
There's two Summit Roads in Norway.
Yeah,
One's up
but
in
then it says
Balkan.
County 577.
Is that up in,
There's no County 577 in the city limits of Norway that I know of.
No, but did they do some surveying down by the hydro
No, not
for our
recently,
properties?
not recently, Dre, not that I'm aware of.
I'll have to check in on that one.
Well,
check
yeah,
on
we'll have to check for you, because
Okay.
I don't know of anything on 577. We'd had done, no, that wouldn't be 577 there, so, I was thinking the well houses. Maybe something back in there, but,
Not on 577, though.
yeah,
We've been working on the properties, especially on the opposite side of 577. And I don't know if that was part of that.
Well,
If you
okay,
did any surveying down there.
that's all I have.
I'll check it.
I got no other questions. Does anyone from the audience have any questions on the manifest? Okay, with that, I'm looking for a motion. Oh,
Good evening. My name is Jean Bradford. I live at 2465 Travis Farm Road. How much did we spend for your electricity? I do not have a copy of the manifest. Purchased electricity.
53,000 and some change. I don't remember the exact change, but it was
Is-
lower because of the spring.
Okay, is our electric plant working at full capacity?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
well, no, right now, we're not running at full.
Well, with the water we have, it's
Right.
at full. In
We're
what
not
we can
running all the
make.
generators. We're running as many as we can with the water. All that we can run are running, but we're not running all the generators.
Yeah.
Okay.
We just don't have the water to run it.
So we will be continuing to spend at least $53,000 per month?
That varies depending on water. If we get more water, we'll produce more and generate our own. We've had one month where we actually had a negative, I believe, in the purchase power costs, because we sold power to the grid more than what we paid for purchase power during the spring runoff.
Okay. And then I just have a comment. When I came in one of the electric trucks, I assume, it's the electrical department, it says a WPPI community. Is that our truck?
Yes, that's our truck. Yeah,
And are we a WPPI community?
yes, we are. We buy our power from WPPI Energy.
Yeah,
We
we're
have
a
a
member of
30-year
WPPI.
contract with them to do that.
Okay.
Yep.
So we are forever committed to
Well, for
them.
30 years we are, yes.
All right. And then my final comment was, I see this article in the June 17th paper that the general budget was $2.7 million. And this invoice, you're spending almost $700,000 right now. So that's a fourth of your budget.
Well, but that's the general fund budget. This is the budget for,
Entire city.
this is the entire city, all the departments.
The entire city's budget is $12.8 million.
How much was it, Mr. Anderson?
12.8 million for the entire city.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Welcome. Any other questions on the manifest? Need a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion, we approve manifest 2014-13 in the amount of $689,630.41.
Support.
Motion made by Chris, supported by George. Roll call.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gotstein?
Yes, but I need to abstain from the Go Tech under golf.
Mr. Ball?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Does anyone from the audience wish to address the council on the minutes, manifest, or any agenda item? If you do, please come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record. If not, there'll be a further time for comment at the end of the meeting on any subject. Okay. First, we have 3 appointments and presentations this evening. The first one is Resolution 2014-23, Carol Zecklin recognition. Carol Zecklin was the museum director, and she has since resigned from that position. She held the position for 5 years, and so we've prepared a resolution honoring Ms. Zecklin and the work she's done. Whereas Ms. Carol Zecklin has the distinction of having served of a total of 5 years for the City of Norway as the Jake Mangini Museum Director, and whereas Ms. Zecklin gave freely and generously of her ability and knowledge to the operation of the Jake Mangini Museum, and whereas Ms. Zecklin's expertise, patience, and dedication was instrumental with the organizing and managing the exhibits and programs for the Jake Mangini Museum, and whereas the City Council of the City of Norway wished to extend its sincere thanks and appreciation for her dedication to the museum and the community. Now therefore be it resolved that it is with great pleasure that the City Council of the City of Norway does hereby extend our sincere gratitude toward Ms. Zecklin and best regards toward her decision to step down from the position of Jake Mangini Museum Director, and let it further be resolved that this resolution be spread across the minutes of the City Council for the City of Norway recognizing her accomplishments, adopted this 7th day of July 2014. Any questions or comments or anything additional anybody wants to add, or otherwise I'm looking for a motion?
We'll make a motion, we approve Resolution 2014-23, honoring the Museum Director Carol Zecklin.
Support.
Motion made by Lee, supported by Dr. Hayes. Roll call.
Mr. Gotstein?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Yep.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Ms. Zecklin was not available this evening to come, but she said she will be here at one of the next council meetings so we can present her officially with the passed resolution.
Good. And next, following that, we have the appointment, Jake Mangini Museum Executive Director. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's with great pleasure that I wanted to present Chris Hamlin as our new museum director. The museum board sent to my attention their recommendation for appointment of Ms. Hamlin. If you want to come up and introduce yourself. As per the charter, I have the ability to make appointments of outside of our main staff, but council can reaffirm my appointment if they so choose tonight, but we want to recognize Chris and happy to have you on board.
Thank you, thank you. For a little background, if anybody wants anything, my roots are actually in 3rd Ward, or 3rd Ward, as some of you call it. My dad's parents were immigrants from Tyrol who originally settled in 3rd Ward, and my nono worked in the mines down there. And my maiden name was Mendini, M-E-N-D-I-N-I. So there you go. It fits in with Norway, of course, with all the Meneginis and Menginis. And there you, I have some big shoes to fill, though, don't I? Mrs. Oberthal did an outstanding job for many years, and Carol, Mrs. Can't pronounce her last name, I'm sorry. But I do appreciate all the work that they've done, and I hope I can continue doing as excellent a job as those people have done. And I appreciate your support, too.
Well, I wish you success going
Thank you.
forward in this position.
Thank you, Mayor Oja.
And I look forward to working with you as well.
Thank you,
So,
thank you.
Thank you.
thanks.
Thanks, Chris.
As Ray said, as Personnel Director, he's the one who hires this position, but if the council would like to just make a motion confirming it. Typically, the way we've handled the museum is they make the recommendation of who they want. They had a committee, they posted the position open in the paper, took applications, they soon put a committee together to review them, and their museum board approved Ms. Hamlin 9-0 for the new director.
So you need a motion now?
Let's do a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion, we approve Chris Hamlin as the Jake Mangini Museum Director.
Support.
Motion made by Lee, supported by Dr. Hayes. Roll call.
Mr. Ball?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menigini?
Yes?
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Thank you. Next, we have the appointment, the MML Workers' Compensation Fund Board of Trustees. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is an annual appointment or election ballot. I send in the ballot based on council's affirmation of the committee from the MML Board of Trustees. They put together a committee. There are 3 candidates that are seeking re-election. There are 3 seats open. This is pretty typical each year. There is ability for have a write-in candidate, but they didn't have any additional candidates. So they're recommending that the 3 posted candidates proposed by the nominating committee be approved for the Workers' Compensation Fund Board of Trustees.
Any questions, comments? Otherwise, for a motion.
I'll make a motion that the 3 candidates proposed by the MML's nominating committee be endorsed by the City of Norway City Council.
I'll support. Do you want these names on there too?
You don't have to. They can it's their slate of candidates. So.
Okay.
Motion made by Chris, supported by George. Roll call.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menigini?
Yes?
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Yes.
We have 5 things in our communications this evening. The first one is ordinance number 411, amend ordinance number 377, noise. At a previous meeting, we had discussed this, and there was some concern that Mr. Oliveris' office had with the way the language was written. So we went back and took a look at it, and we've changed the way we're approaching this, changed the noise ordinance. Mr. Anderson can explain more what we've done.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When I was approached by the police department over a series of complaints earlier this year, and they felt that under the current ordinance, there's a time period between 7 a.m. and 10 or 11 p.m., which they basically could not write ticket for, even give warning based on how this language is written. And so the initial proposal was to have some sort of language which used terms such as egregious, and that's where we went back in the last 2 weeks. I'm working with Attorney Oliveris' office. We sat down, and what we ended up concluding was the actual language within the ordinance was actually good language. It protected normal activities, noise activities that you normally would want to protect. You know, the typical types of daily activities, your mowing lawns, your occasional dog barking. I mean, the typical things that happen during the day. I mean, it's all spelled out in the exception. The types of things that we get calls on were actually spelled out in the specifics of the prohibition. And what was really catching us was the actual time period. So what we're proposing is just take the time period out, because I feel like there's adequate coverage within the exception to not make the ordinance overstepping. Attorney, the police, they looked at it. The language that we're looking at is already within the ordinance. So we're just proposing to remove the time period, and that's what you see within the ordinance 411. Where that we strike that 7 to 11, or 7 to 10, and again, if you look at I did include a copy of the current ordinance. If you look at the exceptions, I think you'll see that they still cover, just normal daily activities, the types of things that we do.
Ray, I kind of like the one, except for the time that we had posted on the previous one, liked it the way it was, because, I don't know, I'll ask you, Jay. Now, by taking these time limits out, can you start cutting your grass anytime you want? The same thing with contractors.
Well, no, because for like cutting grass is listed in the exemptions, and that sets a time period of 8 AM to 9 PM.
Okay, how about
Well,
contractors?
Same thing.
Same.
Contractors can start at 7 AM.
What brought this to the city's attention was complaints about barking dogs. The dog barking constantly all day long. And the police could do nothing about it because the regulation said between 7 AM and 11 PM, they were allowed to. Under this case, they can go and tell the person, get your dog to quiet down because it's barking all day long.
Okay.
So under the exception and the time, there's still time limits on those exceptions, so it covers those types of things that we talked about before.
Okay. That was, my main concern right
Right.
in the beginning.
My brother Larry and I worked on it with Ray. We met in my office one day for about an hour or more,
Yeah.
and we figured it out, and we said, well, this is the best way to go. It does the least amount of amending of the ordinance, and it's consistent.
Well, I
with what
didn't
the
want to
police
put, having to put restrictions on contractors,
No.
but, if they start at a reasonable time, and
Right.
put at a reasonable time.
Yeah, we've always,
And that's what I thought would be offensive on the time limits that we had before. So, as long as that doesn't interfere, I have no problem with it.
and all the projects that we've had around the community, 7 AM has always been a decent time to start. Contractors are okay with it.
Right.
The people in the neighborhoods seem to be okay with it, so, that seems to have worked, 7 AM.
Yeah. Okay, I have nothing.
Well, and if something came up, this does allow, if like somebody knew there was gonna be a project where they wanted to run later for some reason,
Well,
you can apply to have it run later.
Even now, Thursday morning, we started about 6:30.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have no problem with it. It happens occasionally, so
Oh, yeah.
what? You can overlook stuff like that, but
There was just nothing we could do about with the way it was written,
Yeah.
about that, somebody letting their dog bark outside for an entire day.
yeah, no, I agree. That's fine.
Any other questions or comments? The hours, we're removing the hours, so if there's a nuisance noise, it can be dealt with at any time.
So it's 7 AM to...
24 hours.
The police can deal with a nuisance noise. There's things like cutting the grass, it specifically says 8 AM to 9 PM.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 411.
Second.
Motion made by Dr. Hayes, supported by Chris. Roll call.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gotstein?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes. Next, approval Sturgeon Falls Hydroelectric Plant grounding breaker. Joe.
These grounding breakers I'm bringing to you, we've had a problem in the past working on the actual generators themselves and working on the power lines and following the OSHA lockout tagout regulations. The way to properly handle that is to have the existing breaker removed out of the switchgear and this grounding breaker put in its place, which actually grounds the wires and brings you to the same potential when you work on the wires. electrically so you don't get shocked when you're working on them. So I recognized that last year, and I put it in the budget for this year to purchase some grounding breakers and have them fitted to work at our hydro. I put Energis on the project looking for these breakers. Our current switchgear at the plant, the lower set of Westinghouse switchgear is about 45 years old. The top set on the vertical units are 25 years old. They don't manufacture grounding breakers anymore, so we found a set of grounding breakers for those units in a surplus warehouse in Milwaukee. And we would purchase those. They would then go to Energis and get completely gone through and tested, and then they would be brought on site and adapted to work at our plant so we can follow the lockout tagout procedures by OSHA and safely work on this.
How did the number fall
Generator.
compared to what you had budgeted?
I had $30,000 in the budget for it, and it's under that by what, $4,200.
Is there a warranty on this, Joe?
I didn't ask about a warranty because they are, I will ask that question, but I did not ask that.
What would new have cost?
Well, I can't get new ones, Lee.
Well, you'd have to get a whole new
You got a whole new,
generator.
hundreds of
switch
thousands of
or-
dollars.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. These, we were lucky enough, we were concerned in the beginning when I was talking with Energis that we would even find something. But we were lucky enough to find some surplus ones that were taken out and set aside in a warehouse. So Energis is procuring them for us. They'll test them electrically and make sure that they do what they're supposed to do. And then they'll be brought in and installed in a plant and make sure that it all fits. And that's a turnkey job that they'll be working. There's really nothing mechanical in them, Lee, to go bad. It's just a matter of making sure that all the connections inside the breaker don't have corrosion, that they have proper continuity to ground when you bring it up and install it in the switchgear.
Just for the heck of it, Joe, what did we pay for them and what is the cost to get them gone through?
I got it as a turnkey job. I didn't, they're buying them, I'm not. They found them, and they're buying them, and they're going through them.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Otherwise, I'm looking for a motion.
Is this something that you caught, Joe, or OSHA caught that?
No,
you're doing illegal or?
I've known for a while that there was an issue with when we worked on these, that it was a problem. We always wore our 20,000 volt rubber gloves when we worked on them, and you were always in a precarious situation where you could bump your hip on something because it's a real confined space. So we always tried to be really careful, and that's how we had done it in the past. And I figured before OSHA came in and wrote us up for it, we would just go ahead and budget for it and get these things installed.
That's that big cabinet down on the bottom, but they
Yes.
just roll in and out them?
Right. Yeah, they drop down and then you pull them out. That's the main breaker. And then you take this grounding breaker and you bring it up into the unit, and it grounds the machine and all the wires that come from the switchgear to the machine.
It's funny that wasn't purchased when that unit was bought.
Yeah, it is, but it doesn't surprise me that it wasn't. So, you know, I was, like I said, I'm lucky enough that I found some that, or they, Energis found them, and we were able to get them, so.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we purchase Energies electric high voltage for the price of not to exceed the price of $25,763.
Support.
Motion made by George, supported by Lee. Roll call.
Mr. Ball?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menige?
Yes.
Next, approval of City Hall carpet cleaning. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is an annual maintenance item that we have. We do a thorough cleaning of the floors, carpet, our tile. So Trish went in at bids on doing this work, and Sparkle is the low responsive bidder at $1,299.
So this is
This
the
is a
one,
budgeted item.
this is the one-time spring cleaning kind of?
Yeah.
Well, I just got wondered the spread on these bids for 1,300 to 2,300. I mean, that's $1,000 difference. I'm curious is, are we gonna get the good job
They've
at
done
the
it
low?
in the past for us.
Yeah,
haven't
I
they?
know. I've dealt with one of these other people, and I know they do a great work too. I just find it hard to believe there's such a spread, but his bid's right here, so.
I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion that Sparkle Enterprises be approved to clean the floors at City Hall for a price not to exceed $1,299.
Second.
Motion made by Lee, supported by Chris. Roll call.
Mr. Gladstein?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Yep.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menigini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Next, approval of boulevard tree removal. Mr. Anderson.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a request that Joe and I were going over the last couple of weeks. A couple meetings ago, council approved having Aspen come in and start taking down some of these dead trees in our boulevards. Council approved a not to exceed number of 15,000, and we got about halfway done, and we recognized that we were going to hit the 15,000. Joe came up with a plan to request an additional 15 so we could complete the work, and we have some rec credits that he'd like to sell and use that to help offset the cost. Joe, why don't you go ahead and give your...
As of the time that I wrote this, we had removed 78 trees. We've done another 15 trees since that time. We've gotten up to Mine Street, and there's a substantial amount more trees that need to be done. And the job looks so nice, and it makes the city look so nice that those dead trees are out of there. I felt it was imperative that I try to find a way to get as much cleaned up as I possibly can when these guys are here. So I happened to get a call from a broker for renewable energy credits, and they were looking for 2014 vintage credits. I went ahead and subscribed for sale all of our 2014 credits, and that will cover the extra cost and use that money to keep Aspen here to try to clean up as much as we possibly can. On the first go-around, and a lot of people didn't understand this because I'm getting multiple phone calls. I wanted to focus all of the money on getting the really dead trees out and not focus so much on the ones that are kind of looking a little dead, have a few dead branches, probably will be dead in a year or two more, but get the ones that are really bad. And this monies will allow me to continue to get the ones that are very bad and the rest of the community heading to the east. We are going to move into Section Street next and then keep going. But it will also allow me to take a few of the trees out that customer or residents had concerns over that were almost dead probably in a year or two, and would ask to have them taken out also. So that's kind of what the plan is to keep these guys here for about another 3 weeks. 15,000 will get me another 3 weeks worth of work out of them and get as much of this stuff cleaned up as we can. I can't elaborate on this because I don't know all the details yet, but just a little FYI for you. I got contacted by a lumber salesperson today that was driving through the community, and he called me and asked about all this hard maple we're removing. and is coming tomorrow morning to look at it, and we're gonna talk about selling it all to him, if the price is right. He's looking at, to make boards and stuff out of the maple. He wants it for saw logs, the big ones.
What do you consider the price is right?
Well, I called Sean Staples today and talked to Sean, who deals with hardwood. And he said market price right now for, he went and looked at the logs, $225 a cord is what he told me. He said, but if you get 200, you're good, because they're city trees, they possibly could have some nails in them. They're not real clean like in a forest where there would be.
Some of them gotta be a little on the punky side too.
A few of them, yeah, but a lot of these trunks, the big saw logs, are nice. So he said, Joe, try for 2 1/4, and if he whittles you down to 200, take it.
How many cords you think you got sitting there right now?
I'm gonna say there's at least 20 cord there right now. And he might want some of the pieces that are, they make saw logs out of everything 7 inches and up, and we have some stuff that's not 30 and 35-inch tree, but we have some bigger stuff too that's kind of on the pile. It's not piled like the other stuff is.
These credits that you got from that has nothing to do with the $23,000 in credits that you got here a while back. I believe that was for 2013.
No, it has nothing to do with those.
Something totally new, these credits.
These are totally new. We're generating them right now as we speak. A company contacted me and asked if I would contract it with them, and we got an attractive price on these particular credits for 2014. I talked to WPPI and saw what the market was at, and the market was at 70 cents. I got 75 for them, a wreck. So that will generate right at about $15,000 for us.
We're gonna have this on an annual basis with our recs, and
Yeah.
we just have to monitor the market values, you know, as we go through. It's a broker
Yeah,
situation.
it's a broker thing that I deal with, and it just, the market's the market. So they're projecting that in 2016 to 2017, the market will increase. You'll see the market increase, especially if the state of Michigan goes to 25% renewable in their energy portfolio, because that'll make those recs extremely valuable.
Yeah, the higher that percentage, the better it is for us.
Better it is for us to sell them now. This is a commodity that's new for Norway, a revenue stream. We've used it in the past on things like this, things that come up, and then I can move these things and I can get some money and we take care of it, so.
So I see we started with the stump removal. Are they keeping up with that, or is it just kind of when they have time?
No, we're way behind on stump removal right now. David and I talked about it. He knows that it's out there, so whenever he can get somebody on it, he's gonna put them out doing it. You know, like I said, we're at 78 trees. When I wrote this, that was a week ago. We're in upwards of 80 some now, and probably, I marked 32 of them today to be removed. So,
Joe, would it help to, say maybe go have our crew, your crew, go in and cut some of these, say, single trees, the limbs and stuff that are dead, rather than having, you know, I noticed that their proposal for every three trees they go up, they charge us for one.
that's
Now,
correct.
some of these trees, you only got a branch or two that are up, they're dead, I mean.
Yeah, and some of them are, some trees that I had them cut dead wood out of, they were there for several hours. So it kind of washes out. To answer your question, George, quite honestly, to have the electric utility go with the bucket truck and take some of this stuff out in the winter when there's nothing going on, I can say
Kinda
yes,
hard to do it
possibly.
in the wintertime, because you don't know which is dead and which
Yeah,
is.
I know, but to do
can't
it
do
now,
it then.
we are so loaded up at work, there is no way I could do it right now. It's impossible.
Well, you know, the same thing with picking up these stumps.
Yeah,
I mean, you got two guys running around town picking up stumps. I mean,
Yeah.
this is,
I know that you think that that's a waste of energy, but I also can't afford to pay Rob to come by with his truck and pick the things up. I mean, that's more money again. I'm trying to do it the most reasonable way I can get it done.
What we're paying our people, Joe, I mean, it just don't make sense.
Yeah, but we're paying the guys anyway.
Yeah, I realize that, but
Now, that's an extra expense. I don't have money for that. Money's really tight.
I'm sure there's better things that they could be doing.
I tried to
than
call,
that
I
and
tried to
be
call
more
Rob.
profitable.
There's a million things to do, George. But I tried to call Rob today. He didn't answer his cell phone. I was gonna ask him
Well,
that question.
there's
How
other
much?
people besides him.
Yeah, well, he was the one I was gonna start with, you know.
Any other questions or comments?
I have a question. When the trees are removed, the stump remains, is that what we're saying?
Right now, yes, but when our crew has time, they will be coming around to remove the stumps, as time permits.
And then the future plan is to replant? Or no more trees on the
Well,
boulevard?
potentially to replant, that'll be based off our tree replacement program, as we're going forward with that. There's no set, we're going to put another tree right there, but there'll probably be another one on that block, but it'll be as that program progresses.
Are the people that live there responsible for straightening out the holes in the boulevard from dropping those trees? They got some pretty steep
Yeah.
holes in there.
We've been going around, I've had the summer help guys raking everything up, but I'm having them go around with some topsoil and fill in holes and stuff, yeah.
You know, they got some deep holes and stuff.
Yeah, yes, they gotta drop the big branches, and they do make a sizable hole,
Okay.
yeah.
There you go.
I am aware of it. We'll get it taken care
Because I just thought, otherwise the people should be notified that they gotta clean that stuff up
Yeah.
themselves.
of. I've been dealing with it as I receive the phone calls, going and meeting with the people and telling them that I'll have the guys there to clean it up.
I'm gonna restate your question because the mic didn't pick it up. But the question was, from the dents in the boulevard, the divots in the boulevard, the crews will come around summer help crew will come around and fill topsoil back in and rake
Yeah,
up
and rake up any debris that's left
And
over.
rake up the debris.
We've had some sizable messes with this, so.
the public would have only heard the answer, they wouldn't have heard the question, so I just wanted to make sure they heard the question too.
I make a motion to use the renewable energy credits through the electric department to remove more dead trees by Asplin.
Additional price of 15,000, total of 30.
Well, is that what the bottom line is?
Yeah, I wanted to work them up to 15,000 again. And
Additional.
hopefully we'll be pretty cleaned up for another 3 weeks.
Okay, we're not just using the rec funds.
Well,
That they're available.
that will be the rec funds.
Not to exceed $15,000.
Second.
Motion made by Dr. Hayes, supported by Chris. Roll call.
Mr. Ball?
Yeah.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menigini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
The last thing on the agenda is the approval, contract to update zoning ordinance with QPAD. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, last item is we're going through a reevaluation, an update of our zoning ordinance. It's the 5th year for the ordinance. Normally, on the 5th year, you really don't have a large update scheduled. You pretty much do a review. Unfortunately for us this year, there are some major changes that happened in Lansing, specifically with court case on medical marijuana, specifically with the legislation change for mine pits, mining activities, and that does include sand and gravel, so it does affect the city and the township. And then the Right to Farm Act has some court case changes that we have to get in line. So there's a number of major changes that we have to go through. I contacted our friends at QPAD that help us in this effort, and We have a quote for $8,700 for them to come and assist us in this effort. Again, half of that will be picked up by Norway Township, so our price will be $4,350. This effort is going to probably take the better part of 6 to 8 months. So I would say through the remaining part of this year into the first part of next year. So,
And I know as always, when we do these, signs are an issue that we'll have to,
yeah, we always talk about signs, but that's, we wait till the end for that. But we have, I've collected a laundry list of housekeeping items too that we're gonna go through, but those are the major issues that we have to deal with, and they're major changes, because they changed the legislation on us over the last 3-4 years, and the court cases. So, I don't know, Jay, if you had anything, you wanna
You hit
add?
it pretty much right on the head.
We've been,
We have to do this periodically.
yeah, and we've been talking about some of those as they come along, so, we've been able to handle the issues here with our current ordinance, but we have to get this, we have to get the updated language in the ordinance.
And one of the major ones has been, some major cases have come down on this medical marijuana, so we have to deal with that and make changes necessary.
okay, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that QPAD be approved to update the Norway area zoning ordinance for a price not to exceed $4,350.
Support.
Motion made by Chris, supported by Lee. Roll call.
And this is under the assumption that the township also votes for this.
Yes, they'll be at their next meeting, which is next Monday. Yeah, we brought this to Planning Commission last week. The Planning Commission approved unanimously to send it to the boards to get it approved and move forward to start next month, so I fully anticipate that happening at Monday's meeting.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Yeah.
That's our business this evening. Does anyone from the audience wish to address the council on any topic? If you do, please come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record. You'll have 5 minutes.
Jean Bradford, 2465 Travis Farm Road. I have a couple questions. The last meeting, Mr. Ball, you asked for a list of projects, proposed projects. Did you ever get that?
No, I didn't, Gene. That's one of my questions again tonight.
Well, I think that would be for the citizens as well. Then my next comment, I only have 5 minutes, so it's going to be short and sweet. Strawberry Lake, I was out of town, come home, and all the trees are cut. Was that cut at city expense through Parks and Recreation? Was that, because I think it's very unsightly.
There was actually no cost to the city to cut that. An agreement was reached with the contractor who came in and did the cutting, that we would not be charged, but he would get to keep the wood. So they kept the wood, but there was no charge to the city. We do have to go back in still and do the stump removal, again, as
That
time
will be
goes.
the city cost to
That will
remove
be
the
the city
stumps,
cost.
because those box elders will regrow.
Right. That'll be the city cost to remove the stumps.
Okay, so the gentleman or the company that cut those, what kind of profit did he make?
I have no idea.
Well, who assigned it? Who did it?
Kleiman was the company who did it.
Kleinman Well Drilling?
I don't know.
Oh, there's a Climate Logging out of Powers. Are they out of Powers?
Daggett or Powers?
Daggett or Powers?
Something.
That was at the recommendation of our forester, and he said that the cost of getting rid of the box elder wood for pulp or whatever they use box elder for would be basically a wash for cutting it down. So there's not a whole lot of value in that wood.
Were they diseased? Was there a problem?
Yeah, they were
Who suggested it?
Planning Commission, well, our forester suggested we go in and clear it out. Planning Commission has looked at it and reviewed it. The trees in there they're over mature. They were falling down. They were becoming unsightly and becoming dangerous. We were running into issues with trees falling on the path and creating issues that way. So based on that, the forester looked at it. Planning Commission agreed that they should be cleared. Sorry, Parks and Rec, not Planning Commission. Parks and Rec.
the Parks and Recreation?
Right, not Planning Commission, it was Parks and Recreation.
Okay, so they didn't really go before the people?
It didn't come to the council.
Okay.
Well, the council approved them cutting it, but it was at the recommendation of the Parks and Recreation.
Okay. The last council meeting that I physically attended before we went out of town, there was the possibility of a sale of property in Wisconsin to the DNR. Did that occur?
No, that's still pended, and we're still working with the Michigan DNR and to get the approvals to allow us to move forward with that.
We're still working with Wisconsin. They told us they wouldn't have anything for us until July this month sometime, to even start talking to them again. So I expect over the next quarter that we're gonna be talking again.
Okay. And now we have a new bucket truck on order for $200,000. What did the old truck sell for? There was kind of a debate how much you were going to get for
We
it.
haven't sold it yet, Ms. Bradford.
Okay,
I have a party that's interested in it, but we haven't come to terms on the price. But I will give you, the trade-in value was $11,000.
okay, and you were thinking you could get higher?
I figured I could get more for it.
Okay. And then the Habitat for Humanity houses that are going to be coming in, I'm assuming that's going to be in the third ward area. Can you give me any information? 6 houses on 3.5 acres?
It's the old school, it was the old school, old chair factory property that was that Brownfield Authority cleaned up.
Right,
And the city also sold them a small piece that we had on the corner. And they're going to be doing a planned unit development to place the 6 houses within that property. They're going to be running their own utilities, their own road in.
so that'll be no cost to the city?
No, there shouldn't be any cost to the city on that.
Okay. And did that go before anybody? I mean, I'm surprised we're getting an additional 6 Habitat for Humanity houses. You know,
They got the majority of the property from the neighborhood partnership.
donated, yes, but
And-
that was originally Norway's property, was it not?
No, it was always part of the neighborhood partnership because that was a agreement that was made for the grant, for the EPA grant. The Brownfield Authority came and
tore it
handled the
down.
grant. The city of Norway's responsibility was, or participation was only, there was a small parcel that was on the hillside going down towards Lake Street. Everything else was handled through the Dix County Brownfield Rural Development.
So, no,
And then-
the city never had the majority of that. It was always in the partnership so that they could get the brownfield money to clean it up.
Right.
Okay, well, I'm disappointed that we're doing more Habitat homes in our city. I think, the taxpayer, I mean, I just got my tax bill a few days ago, and it doesn't seem like 6 homes on 3.5 acres when I cannot put more than 1 home on 5 acres.
It's a different zoning district. It's a zoning question.
Plus,
And why is that?
Because you're out in a rural area, this is in an urban area. So if you look at a typical zoning district for R1, it has a much smaller footprint than out in rural residential or agricultural or any of that. That's strictly a zoning question. In fact, the Habitat houses, when they first came and presented their plan, we told them the only way that they could meet the requirements was to go through what they call a planned unit development. And that hasn't gone before. That is actually a public hearing. That goes through a step of public input. We haven't gotten the application yet. So, that's their process in order to be able to put that housing together. So what the discussion is coming on a speculation that they're going to put them in. They have to actually go through that process yet under the planned unit development.
the public hearing would be the planning commission holding that.
Yeah, that would be the planning commission. If you look in our zoning ordinance under Appendix C in our ordinances, there's a whole article just on planned unit development. Take a look at that section, and it'll step by step go through, and that's where they actually have to ask us such differences as setbacks. You know, that would be a big one, front yard setback or side yard setback, because what they're trying to do is put those homes into a configuration that doesn't fit within the R1 zoning district. And so the only way that they can do that is take that whole area and call it what they call planned unit development.
So you will have an opportunity at the public hearing for that planned unit development to make comment? And the
Well-
public would have an opportunity?
Yeah, it's not approved yet by any means. We don't even have an application yet.
Well, and it was in the Iron Mountain Daily News on the 26th of June with a nice full picture and a map of a diagram, and so it sounded quite
Well,
positive.
that's their plan. It hasn't been approved yet. They haven't submitted yet, but there will be opportunity for comment.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to address the council? Lee?
I got a few comments. The Lions Club, yesterday at their picnic, as I was sitting out there noticing the trees that we planted out there, they look pretty sick. Now, the two I planted in my yard from the same bunch are half the age of those, and they look terrible out there. I don't know if it's I doubt if it's a water issue because we've had plenty of rain, but maybe a few fertilizer spikes would help them. But some of those new trees look pretty sick. I'd like to congratulate everybody that was involved with the parade. Very impressive. I'd also like to congratulate the Garden Club, who's doing a great job. And now we go to the roses. We go to the thorns. As I was sitting on the main street, and I noticed a few things, and I took a ride the next day, and there's 6 storm sewers on the main street that are buckling down, or the sides are going like this on them, and I don't know if they're getting pushed up, but it looks terrible, and I noticed it was something that was done years ago. If it was a de-engineering issue or the contractor who put it, but take a walk and you'll see it's for something relatively new, they look pretty bad. And also, I would think that the businesses would take a little more time and effort. I saw foot-high weeds sticking out of the cracks on the sidewalks along some of the buildings that are open. And I guess I just don't understand why the businesses don't take care of that. And then under the executive memo from Ray on our utility bills, George had questioned there last week or 2 weeks ago how much we were actually losing on our utility bills because of non-payment. And in the memo here, it says that this was just, there were $7,200 in default, and that 95% of this figure is from rentals. And in the past, and this goes back maybe even a couple of years, we talked about putting the delinquent bills on the tax rolls. Whatever happened to that? We're not here to subsidize rentals, I'm sorry. Have we had any movement on that, Ray?
Yeah, we're in the process of finalizing a policy that we're going to bring to council for council approval to have that happen.
Well, this has been going on for quite a while. Maybe
Right.
you can speed things up a little bit there. And outside of that, I think that's pretty much all I have.
Dr. Hayes?
Also on Ray's comments, he mentioned a 5-year road plan that he's going to come out with, and I'm glad to see that. I think that's one of the biggest concerns that most of the citizens have is, when is my road going to get fixed? And if we had some type of plan, I think what we need to do, though, is put money in that plan as well, instead of going year to year and see how much the electric fund has left for us to put into the roads. We got to set aside a certain amount every year, whether it's a certain cent on everyone's electric bill or whatever. I think we should finalize that too, as money that the city can count on, and rather than we'll put money in if we don't need a bucket truck this year, or we'll put money in if we don't need something else. I think we ought to plan ahead and put a half a cent or a cent on the electric bill. The money either has to come for taxes or utilities, and no one's gonna give us grants to fix our streets, so we're gonna have to come up with the money somewhere, and I think putting that in the plan would be a good idea. That's all I have.
Yeah, George?
I kind of agree with Doc on some of the issues there on that, fixing the roads there, Doc. Actually, I think numbers should be put right up on top of the budget and work around it. That we're gonna take X number of dollars every year and to put in the road system and work with that figure. I know we're gonna be, some people will be unhappy to be let out, but we gotta start someplace, because right now, it's, the system we're working on now just don't work.
In talking with Ray, the number that we're gonna be including for the planned out road work is $250,000 a year.
Which would possibly cover how much, Ray, just, I mean,
8 to 10 blocks.
Yeah, if you remember a couple of years ago, we had roughly 280,000, and we did Saginaw, Chestnut, part of Norway. We did get some excellent pricing, so we were able to extend a little bit. But I'm anticipating somewhere between 250 and 3, to do a similar size project. But, I'm working right now on those segments to try and work in,
I would be very, very happy with that, Ray.
yeah. And we want to make sure.
At least
we
they'll
put it
give
out.
everybody some incentive that, down the line, that they're gonna get their turn. So I'm real happy with that. Joe, I don't know where you fit in this picture. At Marion Park, Sunday, right off the bat, the toilets were plugged, the men's. Can we change, I know it's, and understand it's hard to keep up on this stuff, but do anybody check them things on, say, like, once a day or?
Yeah, they're unlocked every morning and checked, every single morning.
Even on the weekend?
Yeah, that's correct.
Better check the guy that's supposed to check them.
Okay,
Because at 8 o'clock it was plugged.
okay.
So, and I'm still waiting for that list. Also, have you done any work or any thought on pulling the dirt off the boulevards, off of US 2 and 8?
It'll go on your list, George.
Could we possibly get that, so we got something to look ahead to on that? In some places, there's at least 8-10 inches of dirt on top of the... And are you, Joe, supposed to be checking these jobs, inspecting some of these jobs, like on the sidewalks that they're doing on section and that, or?
We have hired, Coleman Engineering is the inspector on that job. We've hired them to do that work. I have been out there, yes, looking at it and talking with Coleman. I'm not out there all the time, no.
I think maybe we should inspect the inspector occasionally, just try to make around, when you can, either you or Ray going around and just double checking the inspector's work.
I get the feeling that, I don't have nothing, I don't even know the guy. But he appears to be very lax. I don't want to criticize anybody's work. I don't know what his responsibility is. But he doesn't seem to have, be able to tell the people putting these forms on what he wants. Maybe, I know you insisted on raising on part of my block, and even Monday, it ran right down the sidewalk and right around the corner and right down. So, I mean, even with their level with the lawn, they're still not high enough, really.
I think, George, from an authority standpoint, we're gonna need to help them. I was out there a number of times, as you know, and Joe stopped by there a number of times. I've talked with the inspector. I think the contractor is going to respond to us better at this point, and I think that if they know that we're also backing the inspector, and we tell the inspector what we expect, and I think that in those situations, that worked out, but we did have to get involved, so.
Yep, that's my point, Ray.
Yeah,
That-
and I
that's
think, I
exactly
agree
my
with that,
point.
I think we have to do that.
Right.
So you're right.
And I don't think I don't think he knows or understands what we want.
Yep.
I mean, when I went out there and I told him, I explained to him what I wanted and why, he was reluctant, but he did it.
Well, I can tell you that after you had your initial discussion with him, I've been in contact with him probably at least once a day. You know, he's not afraid to call me or text me if he has questions, and we said that. And he talks to Joe, you know, Joe looks him up too, so he knows that, you know, if he has a question, he calls, and we go over and we check it out. We've been on Walnut a number of times. We've been, you know, as we move forward, we'll do the same thing. Railroad is gonna be, I think Railroad will probably be different types of issues than we have with sidewalks, but I think we're gonna be the same.
Now, they got the same inspector covering both
Yeah.
jobs, so I
And-
mean, you know, what,
I think he's okay. I think the key is that we just need to be talking, you know, we have to.
I agree.
Be
I agree,
discussing.
Ray. To me, the guy needed more direction. You know, he was willing, to me, appeared to be willing to let everything go along. He didn't want to create no raves, and I don't think that was part of his job. That's pretty much all I had.
All right. Chris?
First, want to thank everyone that put on the fireworks show. I heard it was really well done, and to get on the parade. Was walking this weekend past the DPW yard and noticed there's a couple of vehicles back there that they appear to be junk.
That's correct, they are. I had asked to have them hauled away when we had an opportunity. The answer that I received immediately was, we don't have the titles for them. That was about 3 weeks ago, and then I had thought that I had given the titles to David, so when they get hauled, we'd have them. I'm almost certain of it, but I have to recheck. And
I know one of those
Tricia.
vehicles is that orange one that got rolled over, but there's two other ones in there that I've never seen before.
There's a repo from the police department that we received the title on as a junk car, and then the old pickup truck needs to be hauled for scrap. That was from the golf course.
How is the issues with the cardboard bin at the recycling? Has it been any better than?
I believe it's better, yes. I don't think it's perfect, but I believe it's better. I haven't seen cardboard running out the top and cardboard stacked up behind the sign anymore.
Okay.
But I don't go check inside every day either. You know?
That's all I have.
Okay, first thing I had was, how are we coming on the patching with the two guys we had patching?
I believe the patching is going very well. I'm pleased with them. I talk to them 3 times a week, give them direction on the areas that I want them in. We're working in the kind of central western quadrant, 12th, 13th, 16th right now. We did 7th Avenue, some areas down in 3rd Ward. We went out onto Perney Lane and started to do a couple that were really bad out there by the center lane that people were calling, complaining about, so I told them to run out there and get those. But they're focusing most of their energy right over here on these roads. And then when they get close to completing those, I'll find another area for them to go into.
From what I've seen, I know we're doing it in a more deliberate manner, in a more
Yes.
careful manner. I haven't seen any of the patch coming out, at least through 3rd Ward. I take a look when I drive through, walk through. It's all holding up really well.
Yeah, I haven't seen it come out here, Jeremy. I think that they're doing an excellent job, and I'm glad that we put them on, and we're doing it the way we're doing it. I think it's gonna be worthwhile.
Okay, the last thing I have is, the old city hospital the old hospital here in town is going to be sold. Right now, Dave Anderson's looking to sell it. He's got a buyer lined up for it. And there's a deed restriction. The hospital has a deed restriction, the city has a deed restriction on it. The request was that the council take and consider, the hospital has to, in talking with Jay, the hospital has to relinquish theirs first, then we would relinquish ours second, then they could sell it. The request was brought to me because of there's kind of it's a rush now to they want to hurry up and get it done because Dave is going to be leaving town soon. Would we consider relinquishing our deed restriction contingent on the hospital relinquishing theirs?
What is the deed, what is the restriction?
The property, if Dave gives up interest in it, the hospital would revert back to the city. The property in the hospital side would revert to the
The
city.
hospital can be sold, but it must be sold to a public entity. Yeah, so this is a private company, so.
The request was made that we consider doing that. I don't know I've been involved in these conversations about it coming for a while through meetings with Jay and with the manager. I don't know where the rest of the council is on it. I don't know where other people's opinions are. But it was just asked that we could try to move the sale along more quickly, if we would consider relinquishing our deed restriction contingent on the hospital relinquishing theirs.
What was the reasoning behind the restriction?
I don't,
I would like to
Jay,
find out
the-
more details on these restrictions.
The hospital didn't want,
I don't like these hurry-up decisions.
okay.
there's a restriction the hospital imposed before they would release their interest in the title. They didn't want somebody going down there and opening up a clinic, a competitor, a Bellin or an Aurora. I'm just using names, you know.
Yeah.
And that was never in the plan, but I mean, they were protecting their flanks. The city of Norway also was requested that we, and I think Dr. Hayes was involved in some of this, that we wanted to sell this to a public entity if it was ever sold, because, you know, we wanted it to be for the public good. And so that's the way it was left. Now what's happening, excuse me, now what's happening is a private individual wants to buy it. Mr. Anderson has sought this individual out, as I understand it, and his party is interested. So, but my view is that I think that the hospital should first, we should know what the hospital's position is before we make any commitments. Because if we go ahead and approve it, you know, that's still only a half a loaf, and you can't, it's my concern, you wouldn't be able to sell the building. So I think, you know, we don't want to jump the gun. And, you know, their schedule doesn't dictate our schedule. Okay, this is their problem at this point, and they need to solve it. And the city will do anything we can to cooperate with them, as I understand it. My office is ready to do that. But I don't want us to jump into something right in the middle of it and then find out that, well, you know, we've been better off to sit in the sidelines a while longer. So let's just wait and see. That's my view. That would be my opinion. The council's free to do whatever it wishes to do.
What's everybody's thoughts?
I'd like to get more information on this, just the proper steps.
Okay, I guess we'll hold off for 2 weeks then and try to get more information. Hopefully, whatever the hospital's gonna do is known by that time.
I understand they're in contact with.
I was asked to bring it to the council so that they could move it along. That's why I brought it up tonight. I have nothing else. Joe?
No, I have nothing else.
Tricia? Jay?
No, I have nothing to add, thanks.
Right.
I don't really have anything. I just want to congratulate the Lions for the picnic. 4th of July, I thought it was a really good event. I was down for the concert, the city band concert, and we had quite a few people down here, so it was a real nice event. So hopefully people from out of town coming in got to see us at our best, and folks from here got a good concert and a nice parade and good fireworks.
The ones lined up on the highway weren't too happy when they
ones
had
lined
traffic stopped.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
In your notes here, I don't know if I can find it offhand, that grant that they got,
Plum Creek?
no. I'm assuming it was for some outfit that played in the band shop?
Oh, the music in the park?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a series that I was able to take the monies that we put forward for the city band and bring in additional music for alternate nights.
That wasn't given to just one party? was
No,
it?
no, no, that's a
Oh,
total.
Okay,
Yeah, that's a total.
okay, that's, I
Yeah, it's $4,000 that we're able to bring in,
remember.
no additional funds on the city.
I thought, boy, the city band could have used that nicely too. That's why I was just wondering.
Well, we had to
They didn't
leverage it.
register until you had mentioned it.
Yeah.
Okay, looking for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Support.
Motion made by Lee, supported by George. Roll call.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Gottstein?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Yep.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.